Lady Vela of House Starlight stepped onto the balcony of her private chambers, gazing at the 3 moons that hung over the capital city of the bright empire. Her silver skin caught the moonlight, making her seem to glow against the dark sky. As the daughter of Grand Admiral Luminar, she had known nothing but luxury her entire life. "My lady," called a soft voice from behind. "The Emperor's message has arrived." Vela turned to see her personal servant Mira, holding a gleaming crystal tablet. The royal summons had finally come. The war against the humans, those primitive apes from the muddy planet called Earth, had reached a critical point. After 3 years of fighting, the Bright Empire's forces were being pushed back on all fronts. "The Emperor requests your presence at the War Council tomorrow," Mira said, her eyes downcast as protocol demanded when addressing the Highborn. Vela took the tablet, scanning its contents. "Not a request. An order." Her voice was cold. The Emperor wanted to use her as a bargaining chip, to marry her off to one of the allied species to secure their continued support in the war. That night, while the city slept, Vela made her decision. She would not be a pawn in the Emperor's games. With Myra's reluctant help, she disguised herself in a plain military uniform, covered her distinctive silver skin with dark makeup, and slipped away from the palace. Her plan was simple but desperate: reach the human-controlled sectors and seek asylum. The humans, for all their primitive ways, were known to respect their own strange concept called human rights. Perhaps they would extend the same courtesy to a defector of her status. What Vela didn't anticipate was her ship being shot down at the border between territories. The emergency protocols activated just in time, ejecting her escape pod toward the nearest human settlement, a mining colony on the moon of Doros. The pod crashed in the outskirts of the colony. Dazed but alive, Vela stumbled from the wreckage only to find herself surrounded by human soldiers, their weapons trained on her. "Don't move, bright scum!" shouted the leader, a tall man with a scarred face and hard eyes. His name tag read, "Captain Reed." Vela raised her hands slowly. "I seek asylum," she said, struggling with the human language she had studied in secret. "I am defector." The humans exchanged glances. One of them laughed, a harsh, barking sound that made Vela flinch. "A defector, huh?" Captain Reed approached, studying her closely. "You're Highborn. I can tell by those markings on your neck. What's a silver blood princess doing in my sector?" Before Vela could answer, alarms blared throughout the colony. The Bright Empire had tracked her pod's trajectory and dispatched recovery teams to capture her. "Take her to the bunker," Reed ordered. "And someone get command on the line." Vela found herself being rushed through the colony streets as distant explosions lit up the artificial sky. The humans moved with surprising efficiency, communicating in short bursts of their crude language. "The sewers," Reed suddenly announced. "They'll be blocking all official routes. We need to go underground." And that was how Lady Vela of House Starlight, daughter of Grand Admiral Luminar, third in line to the Emperor's Advisory Council, found herself crawling through the human waste disposal tunnels, what they called sewers. The stench was unlike anything she had experienced. Her species prided themselves on cleanliness and purity. Waste was processed through advanced technology, never stored or channeled through primitive pipelines. Yet here she was, her once pristine uniform now soaked in filthy water, her makeup washing away to reveal patches of her silver skin. "Keep moving, princess," urged Private Tomas, the youngest of the soldiers. He seemed to find her disgust amusing. "Not what you're used to in the royal palace, I bet." Vela wanted to snap at him, to remind him of her status, but she bit her tongue. She needed these humans if she wanted to survive. After what felt like hours of crawling through the tunnels, they reached a hidden access point. Captain Reed helped her climb up into what appeared to be a storage room filled with mechanical parts. "Welcome to home base," he said, his expression unreadable. "You wanted asylum? Well, you've got our attention. Now convince me why we shouldn't hand you back to your people as a peace offering." Vela straightened her back, summoning what dignity she could while dripping with sewer water. "Because I know how to end this war. And not in the way my people want. Captain Reed stared at Vela for a long moment. His weathered face showed no emotion as he considered her words. Clean her up and get her some dry clothes, he finally ordered. Then bring her to the command room. Private Tomas led Vela to a small washroom where she was given privacy to clean herself. The water was cold, nothing like the perfumed, heated baths she was accustomed to, but it felt heavenly compared to the sewer filth. The human clothing they provided was rough against her sensitive skin, simple gray pants and a shirt with a faded Earth Defense Force logo. When she emerged, feeling somewhat restored, Tomas was waiting. "You don't look half bad in our gear," he said with a slight smile. "Follow me." The hidden base was a maze of narrow corridors carved directly into the moon's rock. Humans rushed past them, carrying equipment or shouting orders. Vela noticed how they all moved with purpose, despite the apparent chaos. There was an efficiency to their movements that the Bright Empire's military reports had failed to mention. The command room was small but packed with technology, much of it salvaged from Bright Empire's ships, Vela noticed with surprise. Captain Reed stood over a holographic display showing the colony and surrounding area. Red dots blinked ominously around the perimeter. "Your people have the whole area surrounded," Reed said without looking up. "They're tearing the colony apart looking for you. 20 civilians dead already." Guilt washed over Vela. "I did not intend. Intentions don't matter much in war." Reed cut her off. "Results do. You said you know how to end this war. Talk." Vela straightened her posture, falling back on her royal training. "The Bright Empire is not as united as we pretend. My father, Grand Admiral Luminar, leads one faction that believes this war is a mistake. The Emperor and his inner circle lead another that thinks humans must be conquered or destroyed. We figured that much," said an older woman Vela hadn't noticed before. Her gray hair was cut short, and her uniform bore more insignia than the others. "Commander Ortiz," she introduced herself. "Intelligence Division." Vela nodded respectfully. "What you don't know is that the Empire's main fleet has a critical weakness. Our ships are powered by resonance crystals that amplify energy from our 3 suns. But the crystals are failing faster than expected due to a manufacturing error." Reed and Ortiz exchanged looks. "That would explain the retreat at Proxima," Ortiz said thoughtfully. "My father has been secretly documenting this flaw," Vela continued. "He believes the Emperor is leading our people to destruction. If I can contact him, I can get access to this information. With it, you could target the weakened ships and force the Emperor to negotiate." "Why would your father help us?" Reed asked, suspicion clear in his voice. "Because he wants peace," Vela replied simply. "And because I am his only child." The room fell silent as the humans processed this information. Finally, Commander Ortiz spoke. "Even if what you're saying is true, how do we contact your father without alerting the Emperor's forces?" Before Vela could answer, the base shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling as alarms blared. "They found us!" A voice shouted over the intercom. "Bright forces breaching Sector 7. Reed grabbed a weapon from the wall. "So much for your peace plan, Princess. Looks like Daddy's come to take you home." "No." Vela shook her head firmly. "If it were my father's forces, they would have sent an envoy first. This is the Emperor's royal guard. They're here to silence me." As if to confirm her words, the base shook again, more violently this time. "Everyone to battle stations," Commander Ortiz ordered. "Captain, get our guest to the emergency bunker." "With respect, Commander, I can help," Vela insisted. "I know their tactics, their weaknesses." Private Tomas, who had remained silent until now, suddenly spoke up. "Give her a chance, Captain. What do we have to lose?" Reed's face hardened, but he reached a decision. "Fine. But you stay with me at all times. Tomas, you're with us." They moved quickly through the corridors as the sounds of battle grew closer. Humans rushed past them, some wounded, others helping the injured. "The Royal Guard uses sonic disruptors," Vela explained as they ran. They're designed to incapacitate, not kill. The Emperor wants me alive. Lucky you, Reed muttered. They turned a corner and came face to face with 3 soldiers in the gleaming white armor of the Bright Empire's Royal Guard. Their helmets concealed their faces, but Vela could feel their surprise at seeing her with the humans. Lady Vela, one of them spoke, his voice distorted through the helmet. By order of His Radiance the Emperor, you are to return with us immediately. Captain Reed raised his weapon. She's not going anywhere. The guard tilted his head slightly. This primitive speaks as if it has a choice in the matter. And then, to everyone's surprise, Vela laughed, a clear, ringing sound that echoed in the narrow corridor. You know what, Captain? She said, her silver eyes gleaming with a new determination. I think I'm starting to understand why humans laugh in the face of danger. Before anyone could react, she grabbed Reed's sidearm and fired at the ceiling above the guards. The ceiling collapsed with a thunderous crash, burying the royal guards under rubble and dust. Without hesitation, Vela tossed the weapon back to Reed and sprinted past the debris. This way, she called over her shoulder. We have minutes before more arrive. Reed and Tomas exchanged stunned looks before following her. The captain's voice crackled over his comm unit, updating Commander Ortiz on their situation. I know a way out, Vela said as they ran. The Royal Guard ships have a standard docking protocol. If we can reach their landing site, we can steal one. And you know how to fly one of those things? Reed asked skeptically. Vela gave him a sidelong glance. I am the daughter of the Grand Admiral. I learned to pilot before I could walk. Tomas grinned. I'm starting to like her, Captain. They navigated through the base's winding corridors, the sounds of battle growing more distant. Vela led them to a service tunnel that angled upward toward the surface. This will take us close to the northern ridge, she explained. The guard always lands in formation, facing the rising sun. It's tradition. Traditions can get you killed in war. Reed muttered, but he didn't question her further. The tunnel was narrow and dark, forcing them to crawl in single file. Tomas went first, then Vela, with Reed bringing up the rear. The young private tried to make light of their situation. So, back to those sewers again, huh? At least this one's dry. I never understood why humans joke when in danger. Vela said, genuinely curious despite their predicament. Fear makes you either laugh or cry. Tomas replied. Laughing feels better. Simple but effective psychology. Vela mused. My people suppress emotions in crisis. We're taught that feelings cloud judgment. And how's that working out for your empire? Reed asked from behind her. Vela fell silent, considering his question. 3 generations of emotional suppression had indeed created problems in her society: rigidity, inability to adapt, lack of innovation. Perhaps humans had discovered something valuable in their emotional openness. After what seemed like hours crawling through darkness, they reached a small hatch. Tomas pushed it open carefully, letting in the artificial daylight of the colony's environmental dome. Clear, he whispered. They emerged onto a rocky outcropping overlooking a small plateau. Just as Vela had predicted, 3 Royal Guard ships stood in perfect formation, their sleek white hulls gleaming in the light. Guard patrols circle every 8 minutes, Vela informed them. We need to time this perfectly. Reed surveyed the landing site through his scope. 4 guards at the perimeter, 2 more by the nearest ship. The ships have automated defense systems, Vela added. They'll recognize me as authorized personnel, but you 2 will register as threats. Tomas raised an eyebrow. So what's the plan? I walk in alone, acting as if I'm surrendering. Once I'm inside the ship, I can disable the defense systems and let you board. She looked at them earnestly. You'll have to trust me. Reed's expression hardened. And why should we do that? Because if I wanted to betray you, I could have done so already, Vela replied simply. The captain considered this, then nodded reluctantly. We'll cover you from here. You've got 5 minutes to disable those defenses before we move in. Vela took a deep breath and removed the human clothing, revealing her flight suit underneath. She wiped away the remaining makeup that had disguised her silver skin. "If I don't succeed," she said quietly, "tell Earth Defense Command what I told you about the resonance crystals. It could still save both our peoples." With that, she began walking down the slope toward the ships, her head held high as befitting her rank. The guards spotted her immediately, raising their weapons before recognizing her royal markings. "Lady Vela," one called out, lowering his weapon. "We've been searching for you." "I was captured," she replied with practiced authority. "I managed to escape when the humans started fighting among themselves." The guards exchanged glances, clearly relieved to have found her. One moved forward to escort her to the ship. "The Emperor will be pleased," he said. "Your father has been most concerned." Vela felt a pang of guilt at the mention of her father but maintained her regal composure. "I need to send him a message immediately. Allow me access to the command ship." Without question, the guard led her to the central vessel. Vela's heart raced as they approached the entry ramp. Everything depended on the next few moments. Once inside, the guard moved to alert his commander, but Vela stopped him with a raised hand. "That won't be necessary. I need a moment to compose myself before making my report." The guard hesitated but bowed respectfully. "As you wish, my lady." As soon as he left the cockpit, Vela's fingers flew over the control panel, disabling the ship's defense systems and sending a signal to Reed and Tomas. Then she accessed the emergency protocols, triggering alarms in the other two ships. Outside, confusion erupted as guards rushed to respond to the false emergency. In that moment of chaos, Reed and Tomas made their move, sprinting toward her ship. When they burst into the cockpit, Vela was already in the pilot's seat, engines humming to life. "I'm impressed, Princess," Reed admitted, securing the hatch behind them. "Didn't think you'd actually come through." Vela's silver lips curled into a smile. "You humans aren't the only ones who can be unpredictable." As the ship lifted off, breaking free from the colony's dome, Tomas let out a whoop of triumph that made Vela laugh, a genuine laugh this time, born not of royal courtesy but of shared accomplishment. "Where to now, Captain?" she asked, turning to Reed. His scarred face softened slightly. "Earth. It's time the Defense Command heard what you have to say." The stolen Royal Guard ship sliced through space, its advanced engines humming with quiet power. Inside the cockpit, Vela navigated with practiced ease while Reed maintained communications with Earth Defense Command. "They're sending an escort to meet us at the Mars checkpoint," Reed announced, ending the transmission. "Until then, we're on our own." Tomas, who had been exploring the ship, returned to the cockpit with an excited expression. "You won't believe what I found in the cargo hold. Emergency rations, weapons, and communication devices. We hit the jackpot." "Standard protocol for Royal Guard vessels," Vela explained. "They're designed for extended missions." Reed studied the ship's radar. "We've got company." 3 bright Empire cruisers on an intercept course. Vela's silver face tightened with concern. She quickly adjusted the controls, diverting power to the engines. They must have tracked the ship's signature. "We can outrun them, but not for long." "Any tricks up your royal sleeve?" Reed asked, his voice tense but calm. Vela thought for a moment, then nodded. "The Oort cloud debris field. We can lose them there." "That's suicide," Tomas objected. "The debris would tear this ship apart." "Not if you know the safe corridors," Vela replied with confidence. "Royal Guard pilots are trained in emergency navigation. Trust me." Reed gave her a long look before nodding. "Do it." The ship changed course, heading toward the massive field of ice and rock that marked the edge of Earth's solar system. Behind them, the pursuing cruisers adjusted their trajectory to follow. As they entered the debris field, Vela's hands moved with incredible speed over the controls. The ship twisted and turned between massive chunks of ice and rock, occasionally scraping against smaller debris with metallic groans. "They're still on us," Reed warned, watching the radar. "Not for long," Vela replied with determination. She suddenly cut the main engines and activated the auxiliary thrusters, sending the ship into a controlled spin that tucked them behind a massive comet fragment. The pursuing ships shot past their hiding spot, unable to adjust in time. Impressive, Reed admitted as Vela reactivated the main engines and set course for Mars on a different trajectory. Tomas let out a relieved laugh. I think I just lost 10 years of my life. For the first time since they'd met her, Vela smiled genuinely. My father always said I was the best pilot in the family. As the immediate danger passed, an uncomfortable silence fell over the cockpit. Finally, Reed voiced the question that hung in the air. Your father, will he be punished for your actions? Vela's expression grew solemn. The Emperor can't touch him openly, he's too popular with the military. But yes, he'll suspect my father's involvement. I'm sorry, Tomas said quietly. Don't be, Vela replied, her silver eyes reflecting the starlight. He made his choice long ago. As did I when I left. Reed nodded with newfound respect. For what it's worth, I think you made the right one. The console beeped, indicating an incoming transmission. Earth's escort had arrived, 2 sleek fighter ships that took up position on either side of their vessel. Welcome to Sol System, came a voice over the comm. Follow our lead to Mars Station. Earth Defense Command is expecting you. As Mars grew larger in their view screen, Vela felt a strange mix of fear and hope. She had crossed the point of no return. Whatever happened next would change the course of the war, and the fate of both her people and humanity. Mars Station loomed before them, a massive structure of metal and glass orbiting the red planet. As their ship docked, Vela could see the heavy defensive systems tracking their approach, humanity's wariness on full display. Ready? Reed asked as they prepared to disembark. Vela smoothed down her borrowed uniform. As ready as one can be when walking into the heart of enemy territory. A squad of armored soldiers waited in the docking bay, weapons not quite pointed at them but clearly ready. At their center stood a tall woman with dark skin and short gray hair, her uniform adorned with the insignia of an admiral. Captain Reed, she acknowledged with a nod. I see your mission took an unexpected turn. Reed saluted. Admiral Jackson, may I present Lady Vela of House Starlight, daughter of Grand Admiral Luminar of the Bright Empire. The Admiral's eyebrows rose slightly. Quite unexpected indeed. Vela stepped forward and, to everyone's surprise, performed a perfect Earth military salute. Admiral, I come seeking asylum and offering information critical to ending this war. Admiral Jackson studied her for a long moment. We'll see about that. Follow me. They were escorted through the station's corridors, drawing stares from personnel they passed. Vela kept her head high, though she could feel the weight of their gazes, curiosity, hostility, fear. The Defense Council chamber was a stark, utilitarian room with a large round table. Screens on the walls displayed maps of contested space and fleet positions. Around the table sat 12 grim-faced men and women, the highest-ranking military leaders of Earth. Counselors, Admiral Jackson began. Captain Reed's team has brought us a high-value defector from the Bright Empire. For the next hour, Vela explained everything, the failing resonance crystals, the divided factions within the Empire, her father's secret efforts toward peace. The council listened in stony silence, occasionally asking sharp questions. If what you're saying is true, a general finally said, it changes our entire strategy. It is true, Vela insisted. And there's more. I can provide the frequencies to disrupt the crystals remotely. One targeted strike could disable the Emperor's flagship without destroying it. Reed, who had been standing at attention near the door, stepped forward. With respect, council members, Lady Vela risked her life to bring us this information. She's proven her commitment. By crawling through our sewers, no less, added Tomas with a small smile. An older counselor leaned forward. And why would a highborn alien risk everything to help humanity? Vela met his gaze steadily. Because this war serves no one but the Emperor's pride. Because my people are dying for his ambition. And because... She paused. In the short time I've known these humans, I've seen more honor and courage than in centuries of my own court. A murmur ran through the council. Admiral Jackson raised her hand for silence. Lady Vela, The council will deliberate. Until then, you'll remain under guard. Her expression softened slightly. But not as a prisoner. As our guest. As they were escorted out, Reed fell into step beside Vela. That went better than expected, he said quietly. Did it? She asked, uncertainty in her voice. They didn't shoot you on sight. For humans meeting their first high-ranking Bright, that's practically a warm welcome. Despite herself, Vela laughed. Your species' humor continues to surprise me, Captain. Reed's scarred face softened into something almost like a smile. You haven't seen anything yet, Princess. 3 days passed while the Earth Defense Council analyzed Vela's information. She spent the time in comfortable quarters, guarded but treated with respect. Reed and Tomas visited daily, bringing news and, surprisingly, teaching her Earth card games. On the 4th morning, Admiral Jackson summoned them to the command center. The large view screen showed a massive space battle in progress. Your intelligence was correct, Jackson told Vela. We launched a targeted strike against the Emperor's fleet. Their ships are crippled. Vela watched with mixed emotions as the mighty vessels of her people drifted powerless. Any word from my father's faction? That's why I called you here, Jackson replied, nodding to a communications officer. The screen changed to show the stern face of Grand Admiral Luminer. His silver skin had dulled with age, but his eyes, so like Vela's, remained sharp. Father, Vela breathed. Daughter, he acknowledged, his voice formal but eyes softening. It seems your defection has forced my hand. The Emperor? Under arrest. The military council has taken temporary control of the Empire. Luminous' expression was grave. Your actions have cost us greatly, but perhaps saved us more. Will there be peace? Vela asked. I am prepared to negotiate terms, Lumina replied, looking at Admiral Jackson. If Earth is willing. Jackson stepped forward. We are always willing to talk peace, Admiral. After the transmission ended, the command center buzzed with activity. Plans for peace talks were already underway, location and security being arranged. You did it, Reed said, appearing at Vela's side. You actually ended the war. Vela shook her head. We all did. Tomas joined them, grinning broadly. So, what happens to you now? It was a question Vela had pondered during her captivity. She was neither fully of the Bright Empire anymore, nor truly of Earth. The Council has offered me a position as cultural liaison, she said. If I want it. And do you? Reed asked quietly. Vela looked around at the humans working together, their efficiency born not of rigid hierarchy but of shared purpose. She thought of the laughter she'd heard even in moments of danger, the unpredictable creativity that had first bewildered her. Yes, she decided. There is much our peoples can learn from each other. Well then, Reed extended his hand in the human custom. Welcome to the team, Lady Vela. She took his hand, remembering how just weeks ago the touch of a human would have disgusted her. How quickly things changed. Just Vela now, she corrected him. I left Lady behind in those sewers. Tomas laughed. Speaking of which, we never did get to hear the end of your royal reaction to human waste disposal systems. Vela surprised them both by laughing freely. Perhaps that story is best saved for the peace celebration. As preparations continued around them, Vela gazed out at the stars. She had lost her birthright, her status, her home, yet somehow felt she had gained more than she'd sacrificed. Once she had believed humans primitive, their emotions a weakness. Now she understood what her people had forgotten over centuries of supposed superiority, that laughter in dark places could be strength, that adaptability outmatched perfection, that courage was not the absence of fear but acting despite it. And perhaps most importantly, that the future belonged not to those who stood apart in cold superiority, but to those who weren't afraid to crawl through sewers when necessary, together.